Welcome to Huddle Up with Matias Bueno. Today's guests are all-pro linebacker for the Jacksonville Jaguars, Joe Schobert, and his wife, Megan Schobert, who is TikTok famous. You guys are awesome. Thanks for being on today's episode. This is such a pleasure. I'm super excited to chat with you guys.
Yeah, thanks for having us. Nice to meet you.
Yeah, repeating what she says, thanks for having us. It's nice to talk to our friends north of the border once in a while.
So the NFL schedule just came out, and you guys have an extra game this year. What game would you say that you guys are most excited for that's not against a division rival?
Well, I've played in most of the NFL stadiums. I have not played in Atlanta and Charlotte, and I have not played in Seattle. So Seattle, we're playing there this year, I'm pretty sure. So I'm pretty excited for that game, even though it's going to be a long trip, probably the longest trip in the country, unless we played in Miami.
That's literally the opposite ends of the country.
Yeah, opposite ends of the country. But I think I'm going to be really excited to play in Seattle. They got, especially if fans are back, that's supposed to be an electric atmosphere. And it's one of the stadiums I've wanted to play in since I've been in the NFL. It just hasn't worked out.
I'm just excited to go to a home game because I didn't get to go to any home games last year. So I'll be there at the opener, hopefully.
You going to be in the pool?
No.
We have a pool in our stadium, so.
I haven't even seen it, so I'm excited to be there.
The Jaguars, I think, have one of the best stadiums in the NFL, 100%. And the fact that they had the record for highest attendance last year in week 1 is kind of funny, but at the same time is just, it's good momentum, I guess, for entering the new era that will be this year in 2021 with a head coaching change and the number 1 prospect in the draft, Trevor Lawrence, coming to Duval. What are you guys' thoughts on how things have changed going into this offseason and what you're looking forward to at the start of the year in September?
Yeah, well, unfortunately for me, this is my 5th head coach in 6 years in the NFL. So I've been through a lot of offseason changes, and it's always exciting in the offseason. There's always a lot of hype surrounding the changes and the new schemes, the new regimes and everything. It just always depends on how you play in the fall. And so unluckily for me so far, it hasn't worked out in the fall very much. But I am excited. If Trevor is the real deal, I'll be getting to see him here soon once the rookies get integrated in the offseason programming in the next couple of weeks. If he is the real deal, I have a lot of faith in Urban Meyer and the messages he's been preaching so far, and things seem to be taking the right direction. All the assistant coaches are bought in and preaching the same things. You can't see any disconnect from what you're being told at your positional coach level to the defensive coordinator to the head coach. It's all the same message, even like the strength coach. Everybody's on the same page. So unity is powerful in a team sport and a team game, and hopefully we'll be able to take that to the field in the fall. But like I said, you never know until you start playing those games.
And Megan, what are you most excited about with things changing in Jacksonville and just what the buzz is like in the city? Like, how does it feel now knowing that Trevor Lawrence has become a Jaguar and it seems that the tides are changing, hopefully for the better. But again, like Joe said, you never know until the fall when you put the pads
right.
on.
I just got back from errands tonight, and I passed like 4 billboards that are all about the Jaguars and buying your season tickets. And there's just a lot of buzz around the community, and everyone's getting excited. It's gonna be a long wait for it, but I'm just excited to dive back into it and meet some new NFL wives. I heard Trevor Lawrence has a wife now, and
Which is good.
she looks super nice. I haven't met her, but
when the quarterback's wife,
when the quarterback in
wants
NFL, if a
in the
quarterback
stands.
has a wife, you can basically get whatever you want when it comes to
game day experience.
The game day experience for families. I've learned that over the years, because we've had obviously a bunch of quarterbacks that he's played for, and if the quarterback is one that is like established and has a wife, like they treat you so well. So I'm pretty happy that Trevor looks like he's settled down and happy in love.
So because you've played before, you were drafted by the Cleveland Browns, and both of y'all are from the Midwest. So you spent a lot of time in that area of the United States, but Florida is a totally different animal than than life in the Midwest. So what have been some of the pros and cons of living down in the Southeast compared to where you guys are from?
You want to start?
Sure. The pro is the beach and the warmth and being able to be outside every day without freezing your face off. Just the amount of vitamin D I've been getting is just life-changing, especially having a young little baby that I can take him outside all the time. So that was a huge pro for us. Cons is just, I guess, being far away from family, especially during COVID and all that. Like having to travel up to Wisconsin to see family is a lot longer of a trip than it was back in Cleveland when it was only like 6 hours to where we're from. So that's probably my pros and cons. We love it here though. It's beautiful.
Yeah, I think weather-wise for me, from September until May, perfect weather. But then the summer, the 95-degree heat with the 90+% humidity, and we're working out outside under the sun. Whew, that gets you right. It gets. I remember I always liked to wear sweatpants working out and running and stuff. And last year I wore sweatpants like during the first couple of days of training camp, and they were just so soaked and my legs were so tired and they couldn't move at all just because the wet sweatpants were just like dragging me down and I was trying to run around. It was gross. So I had to make a change and go back to shorts for the first time since like high school. I practiced in shorts. But yeah, other than, like Meg said, weather year round is extremely nice as compared to the Midwest, where you get really nice summers but really cold winters. You skipped out on the winter and the snow for a year, so that's been great. But yeah, especially during COVID, a 16-hour drive is a lot longer than a 6-hour drive, especially with not flying for a long time, just because the uncertainties of travel and the virus passing around and stuff. So it was a lot more isolating this year than it has been in the past, but at least we were able to get outside and be able to enjoy the surrounding community for the whole year because it is warm and accessible year round.
No doubt. And especially when you mentioned the winters, winter doesn't exist in Florida. It's just nice, even weather. But when you get to the summer, it can definitely be scorching hot, especially if you're not used to it. I can only imagine working out, or even those first few games in September. The Jaguars usually try to wear all whites at home because the weather can still be quite hot when you're at the field level in September. And that's just something I can't even imagine what that's like as a player. I think it was a few years ago when they played the Patriots. It was like 37 degrees Celsius. I think it was like almost 100 Fahrenheit. And it was just boiling on the field. So as a player, what is that experience like in those games where it's just sweltering? Do you find that it's a lot harder, or are you a guy that's okay with the hotter weather in games?
Yeah, I think, well, once you go through training camp, that makes it a lot easier to play in hot games down here in the start of the season. But even, I think the last game of the season last year was 85 degrees. So in January, it was a hot one too. Sometimes you get those as well during the season. But going through training camp really helps you acclimate to the hot temperatures a lot better than the teams that come down from up north. Like you're saying, the Patriots, like if they came down in the early part of the season, we would be a lot more acclimated to the heat and humidity than they would, and it helps. But even with that, I think you notice it a lot in the second half, and your legs are just a lot more tired than when you're playing in a more moderate climate, like 70 degrees with a nice breeze or something. You're a lot fresher for a lot longer. Whereas down here, you can definitely notice the heat and the sweat just taking a lot of energy away from your body and your legs as the game goes on. So it's just trying to stay on top of that. And you just got to hydrate and hope that you can be able to get through the game without catching a cramp.
Absolutely. And once the weather starts to taper off a little bit, those October, November games you mentioned, the last game of the year is 85. That's still fantastic weather. So definitely no shortage of great temperature for Jaguars players, Jaguars fans. I love being in Florida. I think it's a super awesome place to visit, but I want to take it back a little bit and focus a little bit more on you guys. You guys are both from the same place. You guys have been together for quite some time. I want to know, how did you guys meet? What's the story of how you guys came to meet one another?
I hear it a few different ways sometimes.
Well, you tell the version.
My side.
Yeah, tell your side.
Well, we first met in high school, sophomore year. We were in the same English class. I was on the dance team in high school, and they do this thing where they have to ask a football player for their jersey to wear for the homecoming game at the pep rally or whatever. And Joe was on varsity as a sophomore, and I didn't know any other juniors and seniors boys. Like, that's intimidating to go ask somebody else for their jersey. And I saw him in my English class wearing a football jersey every Friday, so I asked him. And then
Well, hold right there.
I didn't ask him.
She did not ask me.
I asked
was
a
asked
friend
through
to ask him.
friends, through a chain of people.
Yeah. And then we kind of just like were in the same friend groups from then on, and then we were just friends till senior year because he was dating other people. And then senior year, what happened senior year? We just, well, this is the part that you can tell this part.
Well, we started dating.
Well, I thought you were gonna, okay. Well, yeah.
Started dating at senior
We started
year.
dating. We
I
went to
college.
prom,
Yeah.
and then we went to college. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
When was the that pivotal point where you're just like, oh, like we should go, like, what was it like? You just went from your friends and all of a sudden you're dating, like.
You're probably just hanging out a lot more, and like, we were in the same friend group, and then I think.
Yeah, this is what I thought he was gonna say, because he asked me to the movies once, and I said no.
Oh yeah, our junior year. I asked her to go to the movies, just us two. Yeah.
I was like, nah.
And she said, nah.
Not ready for that.
Not ready. No. I was moving too fast to go to the movies.
Yeah, so we just kind of became friends, and then finally I was like, okay,
Gave
I'll
me a
actually
chance.
go on a date with you. And so we went on a date to the school play. That was our first date, or a musical or whatever.
Going with a plant that ate people.
Little Shop of Horrors.
Yeah, Little Shop of Horrors.
Yep.
Wow, that's so. I guess to reflect back all these years later, like as the time went on, because you guys went to college together, or you were started to go to college together after it was first year. What has the journey been like ever since that first moment of actually being together to going to college and just growing through such an amazing journey? There's so many things I'm sure in there that to reflect back on are just truly remarkable to really think about. So like, what are some of the best things that you guys have been through and experienced since being together and as seniors?
Oh, I love that question.
Well, I think when you live it, it's pretty normal.
Yeah,
it's a normal
it's
trajectory.
just this gradual thing that's happened. But when you look back on it, like, we've done some pretty cool stuff.
I guess it's nice to play in the NFL.
Yeah, and like I mean, did you always know that you were going to play in the NFL? You kind of like.
I mean, that was always the goal, and I always believed in myself. But I think it sounds kind of cocky to say, yeah, I always knew I was going to play in the NFL. But that was always the goal, and things just kind of kept working out that way. Played in college, was playing as a freshman and sophomore, starting as a junior and senior, and was able to make it to the NFL. And I think it was. Well, you graduated college when I was off training. So one of us has a college degree and it's her. So she's the smart one in the family. But then moving, it's kind of nuts when you get drafted, because you're like, oh, I know I'm going to live in one of 32 spots, but I don't know what one. So
and I had just graduated college, and I was like, well, I could either get a job here or I could get a job wherever you live.
And then we ended up going to Cleveland.
And I did get a job there. And yeah, I mean, we've been able to do a lot of traveling together.
Mm-hmm. Been to Europe. Haven't been to Canada together though.
Yes, we have.
Oh, Niagara Falls.
To Niagara Falls.
Okay.
That hardly counts.
The
that was a good little road trip from Cleveland.
Quick road trip from Cleveland, yeah.
Yeah. What else have we done?
Went to Europe. Got engaged. Got married. Have a kid. A lot of things.
Yeah, it's been a fun road, and I'm excited to see where it keeps going.
Yep.
Favorite place you've been in Europe? What's the best place you've been?
I'll say Paris.
It's got to be Paris. We got engaged in Paris.
Yeah, he propose in front of the Eiffel Tower.
It was a well thought out plan and executed to
It
perfection.
really was. He's like not, in general, not very like romantic and full of surprises, but he shocked me so bad when he proposed in front of the Eiffel Tower. Like in hindsight, I should have seen it coming, but I really did not. Because it was at like 7 a.m.
Yeah, gotta get out there before all the tourists so we can
Yeah,
take good
so we had
pictures.
like this beautiful picture of us that doesn't have any tourists in it. It's really cool. So Paris is definitely very memorable.
I'm a big fan of London, England.
Yeah.
I'm a fan of everywhere we went though. We've been to London, we've been to England, we were in Brighton, England, we were in Paris. I've been to southern France. We were in Italy. We've been to Venice, Greece. We were in Santorini on the islands.
Oh, wow.
And we've been to Portugal. And the food in Portugal was probably,
Iceland.
And we've been to Iceland, yeah. The food in Portugal is the best food of all the countries I think we've been to.
Portugal's amazing.
Where in Portugal did you guys go?
Lisbon.
Yeah, we were in Lisbon.
Nice. Well,
during the World Cup.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, so that was that 2018 then?
Yeah, 2018 World Cup. They played like the day before we got there, and they got knocked out. If they would have made it to the next round, we would have been able to watch a game live, like in Portugal with all the people in like the big square where they had all the TV set up and everything. It would have been
sad.
It would have been great, but Cristiano Ronaldo couldn't pull it off. Scrub.
It's unfortunate. I mean, the reason why I asked that is because like half my family's from Portugal, and so like,
oh no way, that's cool.
I was like watching that. I know what game you're talking about. They lost to Uruguay, and I actually went to like a Portuguese. I was in Vancouver, went to like a Portuguese cafe, and everyone was going crazy, and they lost. Everyone was really sad, but yeah, the food is great. I can attest to that. Number one. Number two is the atmosphere at a soccer game that you're watching, just even on the big screen in Lisboa is otherworldly. Like I know people talk about how crazy NFL fans get, even like for Packers games, like Lambeau Field is just like a historic treasure in the NFL. But you think about international sport and you think about soccer, like Portugal is definitely one of the top countries you could ever watch. Even France too, England as well. Like so many countries in Europe it's an otherworldly experience.
Yeah, it's just like another, like we went to a soccer game in London. We went to like a West Ham versus Leicester game, and it's just the London stadium's not even a stadium that's known for having a bad atmosphere in like English football.
And it was crazy.
And it's still nuts. It's still the amount of chants.
The amount of profanities I learned that day. I was well versed, but I wasn't. Yeah, it was really cool.
Mm-hmm.
He loves watching soccer. All the time.
Big football fan.
Do you have a favorite footy team in England or your European club that you follow?
Well, like back when I just started watching soccer, I just kind of chose West Ham back in the day because when they were at Boiling Ground still, and Dimitri Payet was tearing it up for one season, and they were just really fun to watch. And I didn't want to choose like a Big Six side or a side that was just like perennial winning just because. But so I've always been kind of following them, and then I've always kind of like watching Leicester because when they won the title in 15 as like 2,000 to 1 odds, just out of nowhere. It's been fun, and they've been a little bit more successful than West Ham in the last couple of years, so it's been a little more fun to watch the games actually. But now I just like to watch good games. I like to watch when the good teams play each other, and then I'll cheer for usually the underdog no matter what in the games, but usually just want a good game.
Yeah, Leicester, the story of Leicester is insane. I don't know if there's a greater Cinderella story in like NFL history, to be honest. Like it's just so rare. But
until the Jaguars won the Super Bowl this year.
Exactly.
Well, even that though, because you have a whole good season. Like I don't think even when we went 0-16 in Cleveland, our odds to win the Super Bowl were better than Leicester's odds to win the Premier League that year. Like it's just insane because the money in the NFL, like the parity in the NFL is not that much from the worst team to the best team. Like you can be in games. Like last year we went 1-15 and we were within a field goal. Or lost on the last drive of 6 games, and a bunch of those games were against playoff teams like the Packers and the Titans, and we should be So it's like, but that in English soccer, the top teams have a lot of money and they can spend all that money. The bottom teams don't have as much; they can't spend as much, so they don't get as good a players. So that's why it's crazy impressive that they were able to pull it off and do what they did.
I must
Yeah,
ask.
I didn't know all that. Thank you.
So like having been in Cleveland during like their most infamous season ever, like as a player, what was that like? Because obviously you're fighting for your job and that matters more than winning the Super Bowl. But like, how does that experience contrast? Like, I guess, well, how only have a few seasons of, maybe not a winning season yet, but how does that contrast with the other seasons that you've experienced, even outside of the NFL, like having played Wisconsin, they're a pretty successful program. Like, what was that like playing in Cleveland during the
Yeah, well, I'll say, yeah, I won a lot of games in every sport growing up. And then getting to Cleveland, I was telling Meg I'm gonna write an autobiography down the line, and
You're gonna share the title right
the
now.
title
Wait,
of my
this is the debut title of his autobiography.
the title is gonna be "We Almost Had It." It's a story of the least successful football player in NFL history, because I've just been on not good teams in the NFL, and it's rough because you put in so much time. Like the average fan, even big like NFL fans, don't know how much time goes into preparing and just in the off season and during the season every week into showing up on Sundays to play the game and try to win. And then when you don't win, it's like it's all for nothing, and it just wears on you, and it's not fun at any stretch of the imagination. And people are like, oh, you still get paid, and yeah, you get paid, it's your job, but like a lot of people get paid at a job that pays well and they don't enjoy it at all. And like mental health and awareness is important in your life. So when you're not winning, it affects that stuff. So it's never fun. But in those moments, like you just gotta be able to learn how to produce and be yourself. One of my old coaches is always like, you have to be available and accountable to stick around in the NFL. Doesn't matter how talented you are to an extent. Like if you're available, you're not injured, you can play in the games, and you're accountable, you know what you're doing, you do your job, and your teammates can count on you, you're gonna go a long way. So that's the kind of things I always tried to work on and do myself when our team overall wasn't being successful. And I think so far I've been able to do it pretty well. But a winning season this year would be a nice change of pace.
I mean, I'm knocking on wood for that for sure, because Jaguars fans there's a huge shortage of winning seasons that they've witnessed, especially for someone like myself who hasn't been following for the entirety of the team's existence. Since 2007, they've had one winning season. That was 2017, where they lost the Patriots in the AFC Championship. And that's it. Even before 2007, they had 2005, I think, 2000 or 2001, and then obviously they had the successful run in the 90s, but there haven't been many. So for there to be a winning season, and even just the adversity that both of you have faced with, first of all, Joe, playing for a team that went 0-16, playing for a team that went 1-15, and playing in what's seen as like the most cursed city in Cleveland in all the NFL, maybe besides like Detroit and Cincinnati. And then Meg, like you being there by his side, and like fans like scrutinizing players and teams.
Oh yeah,
like
we've been there.
like what, Meg, I must ask, like what's like the hardest thing about like being an NFL wife in terms of like, your husband's performance, or like just the lifestyle in general? Like I want to know, because like people think, oh yeah, money is great and blah blah blah, but like there's got to be more to it than just that. Like what are some of the challenges that come with the lifestyle?
Yeah, I think the biggest challenges revolve around the amount of time, like he was saying, that he is spending preparing. All that time is not spent with me and the baby. So especially just like in moving around. I mean, we're lucky that we've only moved the one time, but a lot of wives move all the time. But just like being isolated in a new city and having to restart, that's pretty challenging.
Unruly fans.
And then yeah, the unruly fans and the hate messages that you get, and your husband should go do whatever. Yeah, that can be tough to hear. By now I'm used to it, and I kind of can tune it out most of the time.
Well, yeah, the average NFL fan who's saying dumb stuff is just an idiot. So.
Yeah, once I realized like, okay, I know way more than this person, but yeah, that part can be tough, because you never want to see people say mean things about the person that you love the most in the world. But we know what we have, and we're, I don't know, grateful for it.
Hope you don't dump me because I'm not playing good in football.
I'm in it for the long haul by now.
So, Meg, was there a moment in which you knew that Joe is destined to play in the NFL? Because all those years ago, when you finally accepted a date, I'm not sure if you had the foresight to know that eventually he was going to be an outstanding linebacker in the NFL. So, like, when was the time that you knew, okay, like this is for real, like this is going to happen?
Never been asked that before. When was it? I feel like it was probably when you got drafted. No, like when he was like out training for the combine, I guess. I was a senior. I was student teaching. I have a degree in elementary education and special education, and I was student teaching at the time, and he was out in California, and I got to see him. Like I flew out like twice during that time. And I think that's when I was like going out there to California. Like I've never been to LA before, seeing like the life out there with all these other players we were meeting. And I'm like, this is the real deal, isn't it? So I think that's probably when I started to realize like this actually is going to be our life for who knows how long. But yeah, it was just wherever, it was just one of those things, wherever he was, I wanted to be. So.
Yeah, that's the whole experience, going to the combine and having to train across the country and getting drafted in the first place is very, very, very difficult. And then getting drafted in a certain round and people saying, oh, the percentage of you get drafted into the first round or second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, the chances start to become slim. And then you get drafted by, you know, a team that's really good or not, or changes regimes or changes head coaches a bunch. You've literally been up against every single hurdle that you could possibly experience in the NFL while still playing in the league. So I must ask, for both of you, what is the most proud moment that you've experienced during this whole NFL journey so far? And if you guys have the same answer, maybe one can say a different one.
I think for me, it's probably not what Meg says, but it's just every year once you get done with training camp, you're like, and you made the team, it's like, check, that's another year on my resume. So like after my first year, it was like, oh, I'm an NFL player for 1 year. Like then now going into my 6th year, once I finish training camp and I make the team, if that happens, I will check the box and it'll just be like, okay, now I'm a 6-year NFL vet, which is really crazy to think about. So those are usually for me every time, because unfortunately, like you said, I haven't won a lot of games. I think if we would have went to the playoffs or been in the Super Bowl team or something, obviously that would be bigger. Going to the Pro Bowl was cool, but I like to think just like the longevity of the career for me, it kind of means most.
Mm-hmm. I feel like I'd probably say the same thing. I'm trying to think if there's any. I'm very proud of you. I feel like this is gonna sound really cheesy, but when you're back, when I was back in Cleveland, like I was more in the community, talking to more people at the time because I haven't only been here for a year. But back in Cleveland, when you'd like be out somewhere and they'd look at my last name and be like, oh, Joe Schobert, like he's such a good guy. And like, you know, and he's like a good guy and not just a good football player. Oh no, I just got emotional saying that. But that's probably what I'm most proud of, is that his like reputation succeeds just his athletic ability.
And that's a super important thing as well for football players and all high-level athletes in general, because like you said, 6-year NFL player, the average career span is what, 3 years, maybe?
Yeah.
So you've already doubled that, number one. And number two is, even if you are Tom Brady or Peyton Manning, or I guess Lawrence Taylor in the, you know, at linebacker, the thing that outlasts everything else in your life the most is like who you are and your character, because you can have all these Super Bowl rings and count them up and whatnot, but if you're not a good person, or if you don't have that kind, you know, reputation in the community, then what good is all those Super Bowl rings or all those tackles or all those assists or the Hall of Fame jacket or any of that stuff. So that's definitely a very great point of pride that you can relish in, because, even if you don't win a Super Bowl, hopefully you do, but if it doesn't ever happen, because it's a very, very, very rare thing for any person to experience, then you'll at least be able to know that you did your part as being a kind person, being a part of the community, and making an impact. Because NFL players, and even Megan, someone like yourself, like the wife of an NFL player, has such a powerful platform to make a positive impact in your local community, wherever you're playing. And seeing you exercise that is also such a super fantastic thing.
Yeah, and we'd like to be able to do more of that. Hopefully this year. We weren't able to do much last year, so we're excited this year to be able to be more a part of the community and be involved like we were in Cleveland.
I got to ask you guys, being from the Midwest, there's a lot of similarities up here in Winnipeg and across the prairies in Canada. There's a lot of similarities with the lifestyle, weather, different perks, and all the like. What are some of your favorite things about being from the Midwest? And how do you, I guess, relish in that whenever you guys go? Like, how do you like take pride in that wherever you go across the country?
Well, I mean, it's always from, like, I always love the saying, like, we're all just a kid from somewhere. It's just like, I think it's Captain America line or something. But just like, because people from the NFL come from everywhere, all walks of life, all different places across the country. Wisconsin has had a few really good NFL players and currently does, who grew up in the state, but it's not as big as a lot of other countries. So it's kind of a source of, states, not countries. But it's a source of pride for me, just being able to be from there. Because obviously when everybody thinks about the Midwest and like Wisconsin in general, they think farms and prairies and rolling hills and flat land and stuff. And Wisconsin, that's not the case. Obviously there is a lot of farms, but it's a very beautiful state in terms of rolling hills, lots of forests, lots of lakes, lake country. I think that's probably the biggest thing I take with me. That I love going back in the summers. I love going up north in northern Wisconsin to the Northwoods, and sitting on the lakes, going fishing, just living a lifestyle that's not very complicated. And then when you go back, everybody's just nice. Like we went back for my sister's wedding a couple days ago, and I talked to the people at the airport, the clerk at our hotel, the people at the Men's Warehouse where I had to pick up my suit for being in the wedding, and just everybody was so very nice. And even coming from like Cleveland and Florida, it was totally different. Just when you step out of it.
Midwest, what nice?
Yeah, Midwest nice. It's a real thing. Yeah. And stepping out of it and going back, I finally realized, like, for real, how nice it was. So
yeah, that's what I was going to say. Is I try to bring that with me. But the other thing I was going to say is Culver's. But you went a little deep in that. But Culver's, the fast food chain, and from Wisconsin, that's what I miss the most. And we one I think just opened up close to here, or is about to, like 20 minutes from here. But when we first got here, it was a 45-minute drive, and the very first thing, my mom came to visit, and the very first like date night that we got away from the baby, we decided to drive the 45 minutes to Culver's and just sit in our cars and eat. So that was our first date night in Jacksonville. Was going to the Culver's. So
I had a feeling that was going to be something that was brought up, because I know I actually personally, I have not ever been to a Culver's yet, but I have my girlfriend, and I've had, other friends and people that when they travel down to Minnesota or other Midwestern states close to Manitoba or anywhere in Canada, they say, yeah, Culver's is the best. It's just absolutely the bomb. It's the best place you got to go eat whenever you go into the Midwest. So I really want to go. Definitely can't do that anytime soon, but
someday you'll be there. The custard is unmatchable. Like people in Ohio and people in Florida, they say that like they have the best custard. No, like Culver's is the best fast food custard. So yeah, it's so different than ice cream, and it's just amazing.
Yeah.
So growing up in Wisconsin, then Meg, did you watch or follow football growing up too, or not really?
Not, I mean, my dad and my brother loved football and they always had it on. And I would just watch it. I mean, like I said, I was like on the dance team in high school, so I never really watched the games. We were doing sidelines and doing halftime. But then when I got to college, then obviously I started learning the game more. I think when I got to college is when he started to teach me things, and I still feel like he still teaches me things 10 years later.
Because you don't listen.
What?
What's 11 personnel?
Oh no.
Exactly. I've went over it a million times.
No, wait, I don't want to guess. I don't want to be. I told you not to embarrass myself on here.
There's one tight end.
One tight end.
One running back.
One running back.
11.
That's why it's like 11.
So how many receivers are there? There's 5 eligible.
Duh.
So there's 3 receivers.
Yeah, I still have a lot to learn. We'll get there. But yeah, I started watching it more in college, and I still get confused at the rules of the game. And I mean, then they changed and put the NFL the rules from college. So then it was like I had to relearn what's going on.
Now you have to catch up on your CFL rules too.
Yeah, I got a whole new. Oh yeah, I got a lot of work to do.
Yeah, there's definitely quite a handful of rules that make the game a lot more unique and interesting in the scores. I know that in the NFL, it's very difficult to get certain scores, but in the CFL, anyone is possible because you get the 1 point that basically, puts you over the threshold of being able to get wacky score lines. Like I remember one time I was watching a game, Ottawa was playing Hamilton. It was like 4-1 at halftime or something like that. And people that are CFL naysayers like knocking it and saying, well, it's just a hockey game or something, like what's going on? But it is quite exciting for people that are willing to give it a chance. And for someone like yourself, Joe, who watches football religiously, and so I've heard in the last half hour, I can only imagine that it's definitely something that is quite unique for yourself to watch as well. Are there any CFL games you've watched that stick out, or maybe any players or teams that really have resonated with you in the time you've watched, or is it just is it your sleeper material?
Well, it's like I watch a lot of them in training camp because they're on in summer, and then when I get home from training camp, because you stay in a hotel during training camp, so I'm not coming home to like wife, kid, or anything. You're pretty much locked.
Lucky you.
Well, no, it's not lucky. You're like in quarantine for 3 weeks, 4 weeks. So the only thing, I'd always come on and just flip on ESPN, and I see a lot of games. And I remember, like my first or second year, there was a guy named Jeffcoat, I think, and he was in Cleveland my rookie year. And the second year, he's playing on the like Toronto Argonauts or something as a defensive lineman. Oh, I know that guy.
Wait, Jeffcoat was the last name?
I think so. Yeah.
Jackson Jeffcoat.
Yeah. Yeah. So he was a teammate of mine, and he was playing in the CFL, and that kind of got me to watch that game. And I've watched quite a few since. None like stick out overwhelmingly. But I just remember like the Oregon quarterback when he was playing was pretty exciting.
Vernon Adams.
Yeah, him. Mm-hmm. When he was like a rookie in the CFL, he was pretty exciting. I watched a couple of those games. And then like we were talking about, I almost went to the University of North Dakota. So like Weston Dressler, or I think that's how you pronounce his name.
Yeah.
Was a good receiver for a while on a couple of different teams. Remember watching him a little bit. And yeah, just stuff like that. I also had an old teammate in Cleveland, Andrew Hawkins, who came from the CFL. He started in the CFL and then came to the NFL. So that was another connection there. But it's just interesting to watch because, like you said, yeah, the rules are different. There's only 3 downs. You can run towards the line of scrimmage at the snap of the ball. There's one point achievable with the field goals. So it's just it's an interesting little mix-up, but it's still close enough that an average football fan can watch it and like understand the game for the most part. So it's fun.
Well, I was going to say Jackson Jeffcoat. The reason why it stuck out is because he's one of the best D linemen on the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, Grey Cup champion. Him and Willie Jefferson were basically like, it'd be like having Bruce Smith and Reggie White on the same team. That's basically what it was like. And they dominated the league and really turned it on to help Winnipeg win their first Grey Cup in almost like 30 years. And in a 9-league team, you'd think that you'd win it a lot more frequently. But again, just goes to prove, winning football games is very hard, even when you have less than 10 teams in your league.
I didn't even know there's only 9 teams.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then there's like East and West or something. They play, what do they play each other twice in their conference and once across the conference or something like that?
Each team plays the same conference 3 times.
Okay.
And they play every team from the opposite conference twice. And because there's an odd number, one team will play another team, I think 4 times or 2 times, something like that. It's very, it's very wonky. And then they have the crossover, like, because it's not like the West division is stacked. So they have to have one team from the West play in the East, in the Eastern playoffs, if they're good enough. Like it's definitely very wacky when it comes to the playoffs, but at the same time, like, again, it's football. It's a lot of fun. There's quite a bit of crossover from guys that play in the NFL and CFL, and some that are more notable than others throughout history. But I mean, to have played with some teammates that play up in the CFL, it's pretty awesome. Honestly, I think that you get a little bit of different perspective, from guys that actually done it firsthand compared to just like watching on TV,
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's the best thing about being in the NFL and going through a big college like Wisconsin is you can turn on any given NFL game. And I know people who are playing, like personally know them, who are playing in the game. And there's a lot of friends or just people who are good people that I like to watch and hope do well. So, and that translates, like you said, to the CFL. I've known a couple guys who played over there, or up there, I should say. And it's fun to watch because you know who they are and what they're doing, and you see them doing good things at playing football in all different parts of the world, I guess. And it just makes things interesting.
Who was your football idol growing up? Or like, did you have a favorite player that you really, really loved watching?
Yeah, well, I played growing up as a Packers fan, Clay Matthews was probably my favorite player because then going into college, like high school, I knew going into college I was going to be a linebacker, and I just loved watching him play football on the Packers. And we had a bunch of good seasons, and he was great on defense.
I got you a Clay Matthews jersey.
Yeah, she got me a Clay Matthews jersey. It's probably upstairs, and I probably still have it upstairs in the closet somewhere. But yeah, he was definitely my favorite player. Also, somewhat sacrilegiously growing up in Wisconsin when I was in like elementary school, I loved Randy Moss, even though he was on the Vikings. But I was a big Randy Moss fan, so that too. Even though I was a Packer fan, I loved Randy Moss.
I don't think you can ever let anyone know that, or not tell your friends around the schoolyard. Yeah, I love Randy Moss. He's my favorite.
No, I honestly had a Randy Moss jersey in elementary school. My parents got me one.
You did?
Yeah, because I loved him, but I would still cheer for the Packers when they were playing the Vikings. But Randy Moss, Thanksgiving Day, three catches for 3 touchdowns, 190 yards against Dallas Cowboys, like one of the greatest games ever. He had three catches. And yeah,
that'd be like having like, I don't know, like 3 interceptions and 3 pick sixes or something, right?
On 3 plays. Yeah, exactly.
Would you say that that's the most intense rivalry in the NFL, like Packers Vikings or Packers Bears? Like, because I mean, Packers Bears, I guess, is like the oldest. But growing up as a Packers fan, which team did you like, I guess, dislike the most in the NFC North for the rivals?
Yeah, I don't know if it's the most, and I think there's a lot. It just depends on the part of the country you're in. But yeah, the Packers and the Bears is a big rivalry growing up, and I think that's probably the most. I think that's probably the ones that the Green Bay fans hate the most is the Bears, because just like the Vikings haven't been as successful, the Lions haven't been as successful. The Bears and the Packers are generally, in my lifetime, have been the ones that have been more successful, and the Bears are the only ones that kind of like challenged the Packers as I was growing up for the most part for the NFC North. But like playing in the AFC North, like the Browns don't win a lot of games, but they hate the Steelers and they hate the Ravens.
I went to a Steelers game one time and I was scared for my life.
Yeah,
I didn't even wear Browns clothes because I was advised not to.
Yeah, and like down here, like we don't like the Titans down here. Like the Tennessee Titans is a huge rivalry. So, and I'm sure in like the 49ers and the Seahawks and other ones like on the West Coast, like there's some big rivalries in the NFL. But the Bears and the Packers are probably one of the most iconic just because it's been going on for so long, and they've both been super successful franchises. But it's probably on par with like the Giants and the Cowboys and stuff like that.
Yeah, and even for the AFC South, because of the division realignment and how that's been really, really new. The Steelers used to be rivals with the Jaguars when they played together in the AFC Central from 95 until 2002. So some of those, and again, obviously with the playoff games in 2017 and beating them twice, and the Jaguars and Steelers always have close games. That's definitely one of the rivalries that I enjoy the most from a fan's perspective outside of the division, because of course the Colts are the Colts. I mean, yeah, obviously don't like them, but they've been at least a decently successful team and had Peyton Manning. So I don't really knock them too much. And the Texans are so young and new. But the Titans, that's the one I think that irks me a lot, especially having a really close buddy who likes the Titans and just, I don't know. They're it's definitely one of the more interesting matchups, especially considering the fact that the closest the Jaguars ever came to winning the Super Bowl, they were stopped in their tracks by the Tennessee Titans. And that was still one of the most bitter games. I guess you both would have been really, really young and I was a toddler, but definitely one of the most bitter losses.
Yeah, they only lost 3 times that year, and that every single game was to the Titans, which is nuts.
It's just,
I know that.
That's true.
I don't know my Jaguars
99, I think.
well.
Yeah, 1999. They finished 14-2, lost to the Titans both regular season games, lost to the Titans the AFC champion in the AFC Championship at home.
And the time the Titans lost to the greatest show on turf.
Yeah.
The Rams by that much.
Because Mike Jones made the tackle on the one, and Andrew, I think it was Wycheck couldn't get in.
Yes, yeah. That's the first like Super Bowl kind of thing that I remember, like football game I can remember like watching, because I was 6, I think. And I remember watching like the playoffs that late year, because I remember the Rams beating a couple teams in the playoffs and being very good. Marshall Faulk, like I liked Marshall Faulk back then too. So that was that's like the first cognitive memories of like watching a game on TV that I can really remember, besides maybe like a couple Packers. Like I don't know when the Packers and San Francisco 49ers played in like the late 90s or early 2000s. I remember that one too. And Terrell Owens beat the Packers in the playoffs. But
that's history.
Yeah.
I don't know any Jaguars history except for the game that was a few years ago when Miles Jack was down or whatever.
Miles Jack wasn't down.
That was 2017 against
2017.
Against
Okay.
the
I was gonna
Patriots.
say 2017.
That's when we should.
Does Miles talk about that?
No, Miles doesn't care. I don't think that much.
I mean, to be completely honest, when I watched that as it happened, I didn't even get upset about the call until after, when people were talking about it. I watched like, oh my God, they just got a fumble. This is amazing. Let's go. And then later on, people were like, oh, well, he wasn't down by contact. He would have got up. And I didn't even think about that, honestly. So I wasn't even, I just kind of jumped on the bandwagon a little bit afterwards and be like, yeah, the refs rigged it, blah, blah, blah. Of course, classic. Brady deep in the refs' pockets and all those sorts of things. So of course.
There's so many ways. So this goes back to his autobiography. He's seen about every way possible to lose a football game. That's what his chapters of his books are going to be about. How to lose a football game. Here's however many ways, how many games he lost. But
yep.
So okay, you were in 2017, but was the year they went 1-15? Was that I think that was the year before, right? 2016.
Yeah, we were 0-16 in 2017.
Okay, because I was gonna say, like, I remember my younger brother's a Chargers fan, and what stopped that from being 0-32 was them playing the Chargers, and Lambeau missed a field goal as time expired. And had he have made that, like, then the Browns went back to back 0-32. Yeah. Oh man, that's but
a good Christmas. That was on Christmas Eve.
That was on Christmas Eve.
That was a good Christmas present.
It was snowing. That was like the most magical game of that whole time period.
Yeah.
That was the most probably memorable, honestly, game in Cleveland, besides then a couple later games when you won.
Like
nice
2018,
games.
we played pretty well.
But
Baker was on the team in 2018, right?
Yep, that's what we went 7-8-1. And I actually got hurt that year and I missed 3 games. So when I played, we were 7-5-1. So,
just saying,
we were a winning football team when I was on the field.
What was it like being teammates with Baker? Like, did you interact with him much or not really?
Oh yeah, Baker, he's a guy that you love to have on your team, and I think other teams hate just because of the confidence he plays with. But he's a great guy, and like Megan knows his wife a little bit, and I like Bible study off the field with them. Being a quarterback would be very emotionally draining just because you can't go anywhere or do anything, especially in Cleveland without people just going crazy.
Yeah, I can imagine that.
But he's a cool guy, handles it all well. And it's good to see him being successful up there, especially like last year.
For both you guys, who is your favorite, or I guess closest like NFL couple you guys have like made friends with over the years?
We became friends with the DeVal. So Seth DeVal was a tight end for Cleveland
And Jacksonville.
and Jacksonville, actually.
Yeah,
Before we came here. And I became really close with his wife, Erica. So they're definitely our closest NFL couple.
Mm-hmm.
They're awesome people, and they just were down here pretty recently, like a month or two ago.
A month ago, yeah.
A month ago, we hang out, and it was awesome because we haven't seen them in like over a year. But yeah, it was just like one of those things too, where Erica actually, since she was living in Jacksonville for a year, what year was that? 2019.
Yep.
I had come down to visit her. I went to a Jaguars game with her to watch Seth. They were playing the Jets. And then, yeah, it was just so funny because then the next year I was like, oh, wait, I'm moving back here. So I've been to a Jaguars game, but not when he was playing. So, yeah, we met a lot of good friends though over the years, and stay in touch with a lot of people. And that's just the cool thing about the NFL is because it's like the pros and cons, like there's so much turnover, but then we have so many friends that live across many states and around the league. And so, yeah, like he was saying, you can turn on a football game during the season and you're just like, oh, they're playing. Oh, I wonder how they're doing, blah, blah, blah. And constantly catching up with people and talking with people from around the league. So that part's awesome.
Especially considering how many people you can meet playing in the league and different places you can go. Having those few people that are really, really close to you, I think is definitely important for, relationships that last long after your career is done, because, those are the memories I think you remember the most. And Joe, I'm sure you probably can attest to the locker room relationships and the stories and the things after practice. Those are the things you remember and love the most about football. Even like I'm sure in college, if you think back, like, maybe with the exception of like a few big games, that those things outside of like off the field and the relationships you make are some of the best things about the sport.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's the relationships you make at every level, high school, college, and the pros is what you remember. Like I obviously remember games, you remember good games, you remember good moments playing on the field. But even like within that, it's like you remember moments between like guys on the field, like things that were said or things that were done during the game, even way more than just like the plays and the outcome. So that's the stuff I think when you're done. I mean, I miss it. I miss my college ones. I miss my high school ones, like those moments. I miss those like relationships and the things that happened. And I know I'm going to miss the NFL ones like down the road. So you just got to kind of hang on to them while they're here.
Don't take it for granted.
Yeah, I got 10 more years, 15 more years.
Some days he's done. So other days he could play for another 10 years.
Yeah. Some days I'm
Depends
retiring.
on how the workout goes.
Right? Exactly. Depends how close to training camp I am.
Yeah, that too.
What is one thing that you guys have as a goal to do together as a couple, either during your NFL career or after, something that maybe you won't be able to, you're not able to do because of the constraints of the lifestyle playing in the NFL, you guys definitely want to do together? Or would even like just like a dream, like build something or a business or whatever? Like what one thing that you guys feel like this makes us a power couple that we want to do together?
Power couple. I plan on opening a dance studio and hopefully in the next couple of years. And so that's like been a huge dream of mine. So I'm excited to be able to like put my dream ahead of his for when he's done playing football for a little bit. And he's excited about that too, I think.
Yeah, I've achieved my dream of playing in the NFL. So now, since I've achieved that, my new dream is being a front desk worker at a dance studio. So we'll see how that goes down the road.
Yeah, he's excited about it. So yeah, that's definitely something that I am looking forward to. And then also just traveling more. We love to travel.
I'm looking forward to doing something in August that's not football related also. Yeah. Like I haven't had an August free for 15 years or something like that. It's been a long time.
What's the ultimate dream destination that you guys would love to travel to?
I would say New Zealand. We were gonna we were planning this huge trip to go to New Zealand and Australia. And
that was gonna be last year.
That was gonna be last year during COVID. So I ended up getting pregnant and we're not being able to go on the trip. And then COVID happened anyway. So we would have been really sad because we wouldn't have been able to go on it. So yeah, definitely New Zealand has so much to offer. And we love like hiking and being outdoors and exploring. We're all about that. So
yeah,
that would be my
New Zealand. Well, New Zealand would be good. I'd want to go to Switzerland. Same reason, outdoors and
so
hiking.
beautiful.
And I also want to go to like Tibet and Nepal. I want to hike to Everest base camp. I don't want to hike Everest. I don't want to climb Everest. I want to hike to the base camp and see it and check it out and then turn around and go back home.
So guys, we're getting towards the end of our time on today's episode. So I wanted to ask some wrap-up questions and have some fun. Maybe a bit of rapid fire. We'll see how it goes before we part for today.
Sounds good.
Yeah, shoot.
Okay. Who would you say for each other celebrity doppelganger? Like Joe, who do you think is Meg's celebrity doppelganger? And Meg, who do you think is Joe's celebrity doppelganger?
Such a
I don't know. So what? Selena Gomez. There you go. Meg can be Selena Gomez.
I love her.
I know, that's why.
I don't know, because I'm like, where do I go? Do I go like, probably not athlete. I gotta go like actor or something. Maybe like
It's up to you.
Chris Evans.
Chris Evans. I don't like anything like Chris Evans.
I mean,
I love Captain America though, so I'll accept it.
It's got the body, you know?
Favorite date night?
I would say going to the beach. He would not say that.
I'd say going to my favorite date night would be going to like a Broadway play in New York City. Going to a nice dinner, going to Broadway. Yeah, we're going big on date night. That's probably one of my favorite date nights that we've done, something like that.
That's a good answer.
What destination would you travel to in Canada that is not in Toronto? Like not the across the American border, the Niagara Falls, because you've been there.
Vancouver.
Yeah, Vancouver would be dope. I used to go to a lake called Confusion Lake in Ontario somewhere. You have to get in it by float plane, and we do like a week of fishing and stuff on the cabin on this lake that had. I think there's only 2 cabins on it. It was more of a flowage than a lake.
Is this supposed to be rapid fire?
Yeah, but I would
go ahead.
I would go back to Confusion Lake in Canada. It was a lot of fun. Bald eagles everywhere.
Sounds confusing.
It was.
Favorite sport that you love to play besides football, or I guess Joe, for you, besides football, favorite sport you love?
Basketball. If I wasn't in the NFL, I'd be in the NBA. So basketball.
And Meg, what sport would you? What's your favorite sport to play?
I don't enjoy sports.
You just say dance.
Yeah, dance is not really a sport, but.
Well, you get scored, you get judged. Count. Jeez.
Sure. I'm not great with hand-eye coordination and catching balls and stuff. So we'll see what the baby gets, if he gets his genes or my genes.
If you were to play, Joe, a professional sport besides basketball and football, what would it be and why?
Golf. Because I'd be one of the 125 best players in the world. I get to travel to all these nice places on the weekends, and you don't even like. Golfers make a lot of money.
I would love to be a golf wife.
Yeah, exactly.
They just get to go travel to a bunch of beautiful places and hang out. Like, sign me up.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
Meg, who would be your ultimate, like the ultimate celebrity that you could meet that you have not met yet, besides obviously your husband?
The first person that comes to mind is Jennifer Aniston.
Knew it.
I love her so much. Big Friends fan.
Okay, so then I was gonna say that leads into my next question. Favorite TV show to watch together?
Ooh, together. See, that's a different question. Separately, I like Friends. Together, we love so many shows. Where do we begin?
Psych.
I was gonna say Psych.
Psych.
They announced that they're having a third
I know,
movie
I saw
today. Did you
that.
see that? Yeah.
Yeah.
Psych is an amazing show.
I've heard it both ways.
um,
Parks and Rec.
yeah, Parks and Rec's good. New Girl.
Survivor.
Oh, we love to watch Survivor together.
Love Survivor.
Yeah. It's fun.
What is a movie that each of you love but gets a lot of hate? Like you just like, I don't care, people knock me for liking this. This is my guilty pleasure.
I mean, I could probably what?
I'm just wondering what you're gonna say.
Oh, you look like you have an answer for me.
No, I'm just wondering.
Probably, I could say like pretty much any rom-com. I love rom-coms. That's my guilty pleasure. I just watched the other one the other day, Friends with Benefits with Justin Timberlake and Mila Kunis. I feel like people cough him hates on rom-coms sometimes.
I like rom-com. What are you talking about?
We don't watch them.
I've seen that movie and I remembered it, and you were impressed by how much I remembered. Yeah. So incorrect. I like a lot of movies, and I don't really have like, sometimes they're bad, like I don't like bad ones, but a lot of times, like when you look on Rotten Tomatoes and they're like 20%, I'm like, I'll probably like it. But like League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, I know a lot of people don't like that movie. I love that movie, so that'll be mine. Sean Connery kills it.
And final question, who is your biggest inspiration? Biggest inspiration could be celebrity, could be family member, friend, like somebody that just inspires you the most.
Shoot.
Oh man.
I
The
feel
first person that comes to me is Misty Copeland. She's a ballerina and she's incredible and beautiful and has such poise and grace, and she's just amazing. So I'd say Misty Copeland is the first person that randomly came to mind. What about you?
Yeah, I don't think I have like a central inspiration like person I look to.
You can say me. It's okay. Don't be
Yeah,
shy.
Megan, my son Simon, he inspires me to be great every day. He doesn't even know it. But
he has no idea.
yeah, I mean,
you can say Simon. That's a good answer.
Yeah, I'll say Simon.
So okay, I do have to ask you then, Joe, one more question. What's your favorite thing about being a dad? Because you bring up your son.
My favorite thing about being a dad is that every time for the last month or so I come into a room or I show up on the FaceTime, my son goes like this, smiles, goes, Dad. He just loves it. So that's my favorite part about being a dad. And the fact that he's getting more mobile, you can see his personality developing. It's just really cool. And he looks a lot like me, I've been told, and I agree with. Might have Megan's nose or something, and we'll see. But he looks a lot like me, and I feel like he has some of my personality. So it's going to be fun to see him continue to grow and develop and turn into a mini me.
So then to equalize things, Meg, what's your favorite thing about being a mom?
My favorite thing about being a mom is probably just seeing him do things for the first time ever. Like he gets so excited, even just like teaching him how to turn on a light switch, and then he learns it and he just gets so excited. Or what was today? He drank out of a new cup that we had and he was so excited because he learned how to do that. And it's just so fun teaching them things, and it's just really cool. It's also kind of mind-blowing how you have to literally teach them how to function as a human being, and you have to teach them every tiny detail, but it's so much fun. So I think so far we're pretty decent parents. Right?
Yeah, where's his mom at?
No.
No, I brought it
He's
in
sleeping.
over there.
He's fine, okay. But yeah, we really like being parents, and it's been a fun journey so far.
He's been good to us, so
He's been an easy baby, so we're blessed.
Well, guys, I can't thank you guys both enough for having been on. It's just been so fantastic and talking about football and life and just a lot of fun things. This has just been an extreme pleasure for me and for the listener out there. I'm sure that this has definitely been one of the best episodes that I could even imagine. So I want to thank you both for having been on today's episode. It was super, super fun chatting.
Yeah, we had a great time.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
That was awesome. Thanks
Appreciate it.
Well, thank you for listening to today's episode with All-Pro linebacker for the Jacksonville Jaguars, Joe Schobert, and his wife, NFL TikTok legend, Megan Schobert.